Hello, welcome back to my attic. I feel a bit like a Victorian in a Gothic novel, but here we are. Let's talk about George R.R. Martin's hosting at the Hugo Awards, because there was something in it for everyone, and I don't necessarily mean that in a good way. Okay, so first off, I want to talk about he was very focused on his own memories and his own inspiration, which is fine. I think a little bit of that is nice. But if you're going to mention authors like John Campbell, who was kind of a noted fascist, I feel you have to put it in context. Mention it, but also then go on to how fantastic and diverse the genres of sci-fi and fantasy are now compared to how things were. There wasn't a black Hugo Award winner until 2016. So use it in that context, maybe, they were great, but it's a good thing that we've moved on. It felt a little bit like an old guy peering in through the door at a teenager's party and talking about how much better it was in his days and they used to do it so much better. Pronunciations. Apparently everyone sent in some form or other, a way to pronounce their name. So, I was like, come on, you could have Googled this. Like, if I was, like, I'm not saying I've never pronounced a name incorrectly, it happens. But Google it, do your best. If you're presenting a huge worldwide award, practice how to say people's names. It was pre-recorded. Whoever watched him pronounce fire incorrectly, which is an entire publication which people work really hard on, and it's black people, it's their words, it's their hard work, and fire is an Avi word, and he mispronounced it and it was just really bad. It's not a great look. Like, whoever pre-recorded it and said, yeah, George, that's fine, like, they're culpable as well. And then you've got the bit where he said the statue is not a real man because it doesn't have any genitals. Like, yeah, I get, like, older cis guys, that's a joke that they would make quite naturally. And if they're amongst friends or whatever. I and a lot of people are making more of an effort to use gender inclusive language. I like old fashioned slang and I use it a lot. And I used to call my periods lady times, but now I'm aware that it is not just ladies who have periods, and I call them monthlies, which, yeah, it might sound odd to cis people, but that's where we are in the world. You have to think a little bit more. If you're going in front of an entire world of people, including non-binary and trans people, you've got to think a little bit more. The Lovecraft Retro Hugo Award. Okay. I have talked about how I'm a fan of Lovecraft. I have had a bunch of comments on videos where I've talked about when they changed the Lovecraft statue and how people were unhappy with it. This to me felt like a step backwards, a period in time when Black Lives Matter is such a huge movement and people, white people are finally starting to think, hang on a minute, this is not how things should be. And then Lovecraft gets a retro award. Now, I'm a fan of Lovecraft, as I said, but this was not the time. This wasn't the time to do it. Perhaps in the future, when everything is more equal, but doing it now when there's all the protests and people trying to change things, it was a bad move. So I think it all comes down to the general ego of it, really. Like, it felt like George and Friends, do you know what I mean? Weird fiction, science fiction, fantasy authors are so much more than this little microcosm that everyone's been used to. And there's really great stuff out there, really great, from everywhere in the world. So this was like a step backwards, in my opinion. yes, read those authors, read Lovecraft, read George R. R. Martin if you want to. So let's leave them behind, look to the future, and carry on making great stuff. Okay, that's it. Goodbye.